Did you know that the most repeated statistic in job searching is actually false? You have probably heard that 75% of resumes are automatically rejected before a human even sees them. That number actually spread from an old resume software marketing claim, not a transparent research study. Did you believe it before now? I did. I might have actually even quoted it myself. But once I dug a little bit deeper, I realized the truth about this claim, and I'm going to be sharing it with you tonight. Tonight, we're replacing that scary myth with a practical explanation of what the ATS actually does and what you can do to fix it. We're going to have a live demonstration where we can cover the 4-stage process, the ATS automatic tracking system process. We'll talk about 5 formatting rules. We'll do a live AI supported job resume rewrite. We'll also have a keyword gap analysis and 3 prompts that you can take away and use immediately with your resume creation process and job search to make sure that you're a little bit more effective. And it's not about gaming a robot or cheating the system. It's just about making your real experience readable and relevant. Sometimes it helps to have that system to support us to make our resume a little bit more polished, a little bit more effective, a little bit more tailored to the actual job that we're trying to achieve and score. So today we'll have some real examples of resumes that I've seen personally, and I'll be sharing them with you and then comparing them to a more effective resume and having AI rewrite them for us. If you're excited for tonight, or if you're applying for jobs right now, let me know in the comments what job is your dream job or how the job search has been going for you. I would love to hear from you. And if we have a chance to help you specifically by the end of the night, then I'll be happy to do that. If you're watching on the replay, then you can still comment and let us know what your goals are and what you're struggling with, and then hopefully we can incorporate that in future episodes as well. So first we're going to start with talking about how the ATS system actually works. That is the system we talked about on the last episode, where from 87 to 99% of employers are using some sort of AI automated system to read through your resumes before it even sees a human. At least that's the stat we thought. So we'll dig into that a little bit deeper, but we're going to talk about how it actually works. So first, it receives the file. So the system accepts it. There's no judgment happening yet. Oh, hey, Ruby, love to see you here. I'm excited that you're here. Thank you. Stage 2 is going to parse it. So that's when it extracts your contact details, your titles, the date ranges, your skills, your education. So any of that is going to be extracted. And I will say, though, that if you have columns, tables, graphics, text boxes, headers, that can actually cause information to be missed or misplaced during that stage of the process. So sometimes what we thought was a beautifully polished resume is actually not making it through this automated system and allowing it to see all of that good information that we included. Once it does extract the information that it can easily see, then it will score it. So it compares the parsed resume with the job description of the job you're applying for. Modern tools may understand related language, but they can't reward skills or experience that you never mention. So that's why it's really important to make sure before you're scored that you effectively include any keywords in your resume. And then lastly, it ranks you. So this is a little bit different than what we originally thought. It's not just going to reject you completely. So the danger is not instant deletion. The danger is often that it's just being misread or filtered or placed so low that a recruiter never even sees you and reaches your name because they're going through the list of those that were ranked 9 out of 10 and 8.5 out of 10. And if you're down there in the 6s or 5s just because you missed some key words that would have ranked you higher, then a human won't even see you, even if you're a perfectly qualified candidate. So the distinction really matters because the fix is clear formatting and honest job specific alignment. So no gimmicks, you're just trying to make sure you fully give yourself credit for all the work that you've done. So again, the ATS system actually ranks candidates and then it doesn't just delete them. So that's a slight difference than what we knew before. But it could be the case that instead of all of the resumes being automatically rejected, like the statistic we thought before, that you're just getting ranked more poorly than you deserve, probably because of your formatting or your word choices. So we're going to talk about how we can fix that today. Yeah, Ruby, you're right. It is really hard to have a chance in the market these days. And this is actually information that I've been trying to apply to my own job search process because honestly, I feel like I have great experience and a lot of accomplishments that I'm proud of. And I apply to all these jobs related to being an operations trainer or, educator trainer in general. And I'm like, I've done the most for this. What do you mean? I'm like perfectly qualified. How come I never even got a call for an interview? And then I looked through this type of research and I realized, well, that's why. It's because, the system couldn't even read my work because I put it in this really polished PDF that was meant for a human's eye. Or maybe I just didn't tailor my resume to what that job was looking for specifically. I was, clicking on the Indeed auto apply and shooting off my application in just a minute. And I promise you that taking like 3 extra minutes to work with ChatGPT or Claude or something like that to fix up your resume can dramatically increase the chances of you getting a call back and getting an interview, getting you in front of a human eye that sees your experience. So the job market is really tough these days. So you want to stand out above the rest of the crowd, and these tips will help you do that. All right, so first of all, we're going to talk about some of the simple formatting mistakes and give you some quick visuals of what that looks like. It comes a little bit more obvious to us when we can compare them side by side. So I have a couple that you can see here I'm going to share. These are based on real resumes that I've seen, and I just maybe took out some of the person's real information, but it's definitely the real formatting that I saw and it's the real experience that I saw. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so this is Jordan Reed's resume. And initially when I looked at this, I would think, wow, I love that it's so well organized. It's got this big blue text box that everything is inside of. And then we have here some different columns to put our key skills so we don't have to take up 2 pages of just listing our skills. But, I realized after the fact, after doing this research, that this is a resume that while it looks great to the human eye, it could very well be getting rejected by the system. So some things that we need to consider is that this is also a PDF. So that is something that we learned in the last conversation, that the PDF is significantly more likely. So it goes from, I think, 4% on the documents to around 18% on the PDFs. It's significantly more likely to be misread or rejected from the process because it's not able to read it as effectively. Additionally, while we originally thought the layout of, putting these columns side by side and everything in the text box looked really good, the system was not actually able to extract all of the information that it needed. So the graphics, the columns, the tables, the text box, all of those things actually made it more difficult for it to read. So I'm going to show you another one. This is the same person, the same work experience. Now, it might not immediately pop for the human eye, So maybe you have both when you apply. Maybe you have the one that is meant for the system and one that is meant for the human, so it stands out. But this one you can see more clearly. It just has, a single column of all the information listed, and there's not any fancy formatting. It's a doc instead of a PDF. There's no graphics or fancy icons. It could be the case that my little bullet points here, maybe that could cause a problem. That's something to think about. But it is definitely much cleaner than the original. We also want to be careful that this information up here, the name and the contact information, it's published right in the key document, and it's not as part of the header, where you can put like the header and the footer in your documents. That information sometimes will actually get completely missed. So I used to put all of my contact information up in the header and start my document that way. But then I realized through my research that that information might not even get seen by the system. So it's more effective to figure out other ways that I can format it to save space, or maybe how I can just zone in on the experience that is critical for the machine or the human to see, rather than fluffing it up with 2 pages of my accolades and special achievements. I can go right to the information that the system is looking for as it compares to the job listing. Now, just so you know, again, like I said, these are actually real resumes I've seen for this person. We also have one where if you just look at it visually, a little bit less easier to read. Once I dug into it, I could see that there were some typos and issues like that. And so we are going to do a live demo where we have the opportunity to actually tailor a resume specifically to a real job description, and we'll be able to see how ChatGPT specifically, of course you can use any other AI system that you want, is able to take a 5-part prompt and then show us what is missing in the resume, how could we add more specific keywords to the job, how could we make the professional summary more effective, are there any other aspects that are being undersold or potentially that needs correction, because like we mentioned, there's some typos and things like that. So the win here is not necessarily changing the truth of what that person experienced, it's just making it clearer for the system to see. So that's what we're going to work on now. So first that we have here is our live prompt. This is our 5-part resume rewrite. This is actually something that you can do as well. So here's the job description. I put that below. This is an operations manager posting. It has the professional summary, key responsibilities, preferred qualifications, everything like that. I just copied and pasted from I took an example job and just tweaked it a little bit. And then I also went ahead and attached an example resume. And so ChatGPT is going to do 5 things. It's going to identify the 10 most critical keywords from the job description that are actually just completely missing from the resume. It's going to rewrite the professional summary to include the top 5 naturally. It'll rewrite the top 3 bullet points from the most recent experience of this person and that key role to better match the job language and the job description that we're actually applying to, without completely inventing experience. It's just going to make sure your experience is actually highlighted and included. It'll also tell us which section, achievement, or experience that we're underselling, and it'll do a keyword match score before and after the changes. So it'll tell us, what it fixed up and why the resume it's providing to you is going to be so much more effective than the original resume that you put in. So let's go ahead and see what ChatGPT can do. All right. Wow. So if we just do a quick scan here without even having to read all of this, it did a side by side of the job description keyword and the recommendation, and it showed us, a lot of X's there, or caution signs. So this resume is actually missing the majority of the key points that that employer wants to see from you, even though they are probably doing all of those things. Like, that's what's involved in this job that they had at a massive warehouse and shipping company, working logistics and operations on the floor. They were looking at metrics, they were focused on continuous improvement. Absolutely, safety compliance was an important part of that job, and cross functional communication or employee engagement. Those were definitely components of their job that they were responsible for years, but they're not giving themselves enough credit on the actual resume that they're submitting. We can also see how it would rewrite the professional summary here. So the current one is pretty simple. Effective at building highly motivated teams as well as cross-functional teams in a demanding environment. Oh, I can already note here that's a slight change. Leading cross-functional teams, but it doesn't mention the cross-functional communication. That's an easy switch that they could make. It's still accurate and true, but more tailored to what that job is looking for. Now, here's what ChatGPT says. So they suggested we should write for our professional summary: an operations leader with experience managing high volume distribution operations, developing engaged teams, improving productivity, and leading cross functional collaboration in a fast paced environment, skilled in workforce coordination, operational reporting, continuous improvement, driving safe and efficient daily operations. So, again, this is something that they're definitely doing, but now it's the first thing that the system or the human is going to see, that they're actually checking the box on a lot of the key words that they're looking for in that job. So they're making it more obvious. It'll also give us some examples of how they can rewrite the top 3 bullet points. So you can see here the suggested version. You can literally just copy and paste that into your resume if you'd like. It also shows off what you're underselling. So, for example, they had a bullet point that says, I ensure my area is running efficiently. And we could just be a little bit more detailed. Does that mean your area, is managing 5 people, 20 people, 100 people? Is it one conveyor belt or 20 conveyor belts? What does that look like? So we need to be a little bit more detailed. Similarly, this person said they make sure their employees have everything needed to be successful. But what does that really mean? Again, how many employees do they actually manage? Do they do any specific coaching, hiring, training, onboarding? Do they plan resources? Do they discuss how they can remove operational barriers? What does that really look like in their day-to-day job? So I think that this did a great job of analyzing this resume and pulling out the key points. So before, the estimated ATS match is 48 to 55%. So that's not nothing, right? It shows that your leadership is present, your operation skills are present, but it also shows that you're missing quite a few things. So it's not that you're not qualified for the job, but it's that you're going to get ranked a little bit lowly for that job. And so it could be the case that a human, as they're going through looking at who's the best fit for the job and doing those follow-up calls and sending interview invites, they just never even make it to your resume because you're ranked a little bit lowly. Whereas if you actually implemented these specific tactics and the advice from the AI, then you'd be more likely to match at 82 to 90%. So I'm viewing that like now you're getting an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 instead of a 50%, right? And so you're much more likely to be ranked towards the top of that system. They also noted this resume looks more like an early draft rather than a finished leadership resume. And that is a call out. I mean, I love, for example, when I'm looking at resumes of applicants and I see that they put, I'm detail oriented, and then I realize in the next few lines, like they're not even spelling stuff right, or it doesn't even look like they really put that much effort and energy into creating a polished final product. So it's important feedback to take into consideration. And you could always take this one step further and say, thanks, ChatGPT. I really appreciate all of this advice. Now, can you combine all of this information into a finished product for me and make sure that you put it in a Word document instead of a PDF? And it will pretty much create the whole resume for you, easy peasy. And in the Word document format, not only is that better for the ATS system to read, but it also allows you to make your own changes if you feel like there's something else you could do to add your personality or add your experience. There's still that room for improvement. So just to recap on this first point here before we go into our next point. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you being here. So we like to do a signature segment called Real or Hype. So tonight's claim was that the ATS is a robot that reads your resume and instantly decides whether you get an interview or you go in the trash. So that's what we thought from the statistics we learned on our last episode. And that's actually mostly hype. And there's a real problem underneath it. The hype is that the idea is that every resume is instantly deleted because the robot dislikes the wording or dislikes the format, but most systems are not automatically rejecting you. They're just ranking you and potentially organizing you to be low on the list. And so when recruiters filter by score and decide who they're going to spend energy following up with, you might not even make it to the list that they're looking at. And once they've called 10 people and they've done everybody with the 80 and 90%, but you're down in the 60%, you're not even getting reached at that point. The real part of this is that qualified people can disappear below the recruiter's line of sight simply because the resume was parsed badly. So, the first step was that it's just received, and then it goes through the process of extracting your information. And it could be the case that they missed that information, or your language in your resume didn't actually reflect the job description language, or it hit some sort of filter selected by the employer. So you got to make sure that you also format it correctly, and you take the time to do that job fit check or the resume analysis that we just did. There's also a little bit of a bias issue. So automatic screening is not automatically neutral. So we should use the tool strategically without pretending that the system is perfectly fair. It might not be instant rejection, but it could still be ranking you lowly. Yeah, somebody here says, I don't like ATS at all. I agree. This is why I'm trying to learn how to just implement AI in my everyday life and make it more effective for my work, because before I started, I thought I'm doing great resumes. They look incredibly attractive, and I felt like I well defined my experience and my specific highlights and achievements all in one page. I felt like I was doing the most. And then once I started this process of saying, well, what would the ATS think? Then I realized, okay, no, my resume is actually falling in the bottom of the barrel for these people. That's why I'm not getting calls back. It's not because I'm not qualified for the job. It's because the AI robot ranked me lowly. And that's so frustrating, but it's the kind of the world we live in these days. So what I mean by that is, we learned last time that up to 99% of especially Fortune 500 companies are using the ATS. They are using a system like that, whether we like it or not, really. So we have to make sure that we're now kind of changing our approach and making sure we're not just tailoring it to the human eye, but we're tailoring it to the robot eye, whether we like it or not. Oh, hi. Did I miss information about cover letters? I was late. Oh, thanks. I'm glad that you're here. So, fortunately, I'm doing a whole series on this conversation. Last episode was how you find the right job for you, for your skill set, or how you can match your skill set to the job that you want. Today is specifically about how you fix up your resume and oh, yeah, thank you. How you fix up your resume and how you can use AI to take your experience that's already true and well and good, but make sure your resume is formatted correctly and it's including the keywords that the employer wants to see. And then, once we feel like we're all on the same page with having an effective resume, tomorrow we're going to get back together and, well, I'm sorry, not tomorrow, Thursday. Thursday, we're going to get back together and do a deep dive on cover letters specifically, because that is a really important aspect of applying to your job. Not only is the automated system probably going to use that to consider your application as well, but that's what I think is really key for the person to see and really know, outside of your experience specifically, who you are as a person. Like, why are you even applying to this job, and what are you passionate about, and how can I see a little bit of personality come through so I can see that you're not just like clicking auto apply to every single job on Indeed that comes up, but you actually want this job specifically and why. So we'll be able to have a whole conversation about cover letters specifically. We have just a little bit more that I want to share about the resume system. So let me go back to sharing my screen. Okay, so this is where we landed last time. And if you have any specific questions, then I'd be happy to address that as well. If you're working on your resume, if you're applying to jobs right now, and you're like, oh, here's my resume, here's the job I'm applying to, what can I do better? Then please let me know. We also have a community Discord, so that if I wasn't able to get to your specific goal tonight, then you're able to join the Discord and post in our evening AI group chat, your job you're trying to apply to. You could share your resume if you want, and I'd be happy to continue helping you and giving any advice that I can to set you up for success. And then potentially we might use your example on future conversations. So, like, for example, maybe you're just working on your resume right now, but I can take your experience and the job you're applying to, and the next conversation we have, I'll tell you how you can make an effective cover letter. So this next prompt that we want to do is comparing the resume with the job description. So, let's see. So this first one, let's just compare what we were doing here so we're on the same page. So this first one was doing these 5 different steps for us. And then this second one, it's just a little bit different. So it's comparing the resume with the job description, and it's specifically focusing on keyword analysis, because that is the big issue that usually comes into play with these ATS tracking systems. So it's saying, compare my resume with this job description. List the most important keywords or phrases by priority, critical, important, and nice to have. Identify which missing terms I can legitimately add based on my actual experience. And then for each legitimate term, suggest where to add it or write a natural example. Flag any terms that I can't honestly explain or claim and explain why. And then estimate the keyword match score before and after the honest revision. So the first one was sort of analyzing our resume as a whole. This one is zoned into the specific content of your resume. And again, it will provide you some information that you can use based on comparing the job description and the resume that you upload. So I have that attached in the job description already copied and pasted. Okay, so based on the resume you uploaded and the job description, your resume is already a strong fit for this operations manager role. It appears to be around 80 to 85% ATS keyword match before any revisions, because many of the core responsibilities are already represented. So that's actually really exciting to see. You can give yourself a pat on the back. You're actually hitting a lot of the keywords that you need. But then it will highlight for you immediately the keywords that are missing and by priority. So you can consider, is that actually part of my job experience? Does that actually relate to me? Maybe I should consider that and make sure that I add that to my resume as well. So, and you can just see like highlighted here, like red, critical, yellow, important, green, nice to have. So while it says, 80, 85%, if we added all of this information, we could probably get to 100%. And then it says, based on your actual experience, here's the legitimate terms you can honestly add. So go right to, analyzing what you said and then revising it to something more effective. Or if you actually were part of scheduling or continuous improvement, then make sure you plug in those things. So it gives you some information that allows you to still be completely honest with your experience, but you're just making sure to give yourself credit for the work that you've done and make sure that the way you do it is done effectively. So it gives you some example sentences that you can just copy and paste right into your resume. Wow, and look how thorough this is. I mean, if we just put those, like I said, if we added all 10 of these and it seems legitimate to your experience, then that will probably get your keyword analysis up to 95%. And then it also says terms that you should not add. So this means that these are things that aren't necessarily supported by your experience, supported by the resume you provided. Maybe you did those things, maybe you didn't, but it's just encouraging you to be careful that these are words that the system is looking for, but don't add them, haphazardly in your key skill list unless it was actually something that applied to your previous experience. And then it compares us before our score that we mentioned. And then if we made all of these revisions, yeah, we'd be in the mid 90%. So that's a significant improvement. And if it's ranking us, we'd be much more likely to rank at the top. So again, after this point, me personally, I would just be like, great, apply all that information and put it in there for me and send me back a resume. I'm just going to let ChatGPT do the work for me at this point because it understands through these conversations I'm having what I'm trying to accomplish here. I am trying to tailor my resume to the ATS system because whether I like it or not, most of these big companies are probably using that. Okay, let's come back to the chat. Oh, thanks, Ruby. I'm going to be so excited to have you in our next episode where we talk about how to apply some of these tips to a more effective cover letter. If anybody has any specific questions about making an effective resume, about how to tailor it to the ATS system, like I said, I'm happy to help you. Just let me know. One thing that I would encourage you to keep in mind is that you should have a master resume that pretty much effectively covers your complete and comprehensive experience. And this is the one that you can, it's your go-to. You can use quickly if you're doing a quick apply. Great. That's the one that effectively covers everything you know how to do. But more importantly, that master document is what you can post in ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you use. And when you plug in the job description, then you can say, please tailor this resume to the job specifically that I'm applying for. And you'd be surprised at how it can actually, just effectively change the packaging a little bit. Maybe you have a variety of experience. You've done training, you've done marketing, you've done front desk work, and the AI system will know how to highlight the specific experience that is most relevant for the job you're applying to. So it's not just saying, I can do all the things, but I'm going to have a resume specifically for applying to that marketing job or specifically applying for that training job. And then once you do that a couple of times, then you can have a few different resumes based on the type of job and based on the skill set. So then maybe you keep like a folder where you have your master document, your training resume, your marketing resume. You have the plain document for the automated systems, and then you have the pretty polished graphic PDF that the human will see and feel, like, oh wow, this person actually knows how to make a good looking document and is really trying here to make a good resume for us. That's what I see anyways when I actually look at like those pretty polished resumes. I like it as a human. But yeah, so you can have like a variety of resumes that you use, and it's definitely worth thinking about the fact that if you're out there just quick applying to jobs, take an extra 2 minutes to have AI help you. Take just 2 minutes to copy and paste your resume and the job description and say, is my resume actually going to get me this job? Where would I rank on the list? And how can I make it better? And if you're already happy with your ranking, great, move forward. That only took you 2 minutes. If you're not happy, then ask it to fix it, and then you spent 3 minutes, right? And then that 3 minutes could make or break if you actually get that job, or if you actually, get a call back for that job at the very least. Eventually in the future, we'll have a conversation about how to effectively, have an interview and how AI could even help you with those skills, interview preparation. There's a lot that we can talk about when it comes to actually working towards getting that job that you want. So we're just going to take it step by step. One other question that I hear a lot is about if you have an employment gap. And I think, frankly, the best thing is just to be honest and address it clearly. Most employers do have some sort of filter set if they're using the ATS system on, 6 months is acceptable. We understand things happen, people go without work or they had a baby or something like that. But not everyone does. So it's better just to be honest in your experience. Don't try to fudge it. So then when you go in for your interview and you're having a conversation about your life and your reality, that it all tracks. So AI is not trying to replace our experience or invent something we didn't actually do. It's just trying to make sure that you represent yourself well and you give yourself credit for the things that you actually did do and accomplish. So before we close, here's the order that you should look at your resume tonight. First is just auditing the formatting. So again, maybe it's the case that you're using text box or just a PDF, or you have, a bunch of graphics. How can you simplify your resume so that it will pass that parsing system? Then you can compare your resume with the job description and see how it matches up and how you would rank. And then you can run a final score and red flags check. So the AI can actually help you. We talked about a job fit analysis last time. Like maybe you start with just saying, am I a good fit for this job? Would I like this job? Is it a good fit for me and my lifestyle culturally? And then how can I bridge the gap between my experience and the experience this job is looking for? That's a conversation you want to consider. And then you can apply the prompts that we just did. So you saw here that we had the 5-step process, and then we also did the keywords red flag check. So you can definitely follow up and do that yourself. So AI can help you see if the formatting is good, if you're a good fit for the job, and if you're including all of the keywords that the job needs to see in order to make sure you pass that ATS system. If you do that, I would love for you to screenshot your before and after and share it with us in the Discord. Like, I can't tell you how much that would excite me to see people actually trying these things and improving their resume and setting themselves up for success a little bit better. And then, like I said, if you need some specific one-on-one tips, then I am more than happy to connect with you there and help you however I can. Because really that score is not a guarantee. It's just a progress marker that helps you see whether the resume became clearer or more aligned or what you could do to get it to that point. So that's what we want to help you accomplish. And then please, please, please join us next time. So we'll be back on Thursday around 8 o'clock Eastern time, and we'll continue this conversation of how you can use AI to get a job. We'll specifically focus on how you can improve or create from scratch a cover letter. That's what I'm excited to help with next. I do think it's an important part of the job application process. I mean, like I said, If I'm a human actually looking through all of this stuff and I can see 20 people that just auto applied on Indeed and didn't answer my questions and didn't upload their own resume and didn't upload a cover letter, that one person that did is absolutely going to stand out to me. I am absolutely going to notice that. The repetition that I've been through for 20 applications is going to break when I see that, oh, this person actually made their own resume, or they actually took the time to tell me why they're passionate about applying for this job. That type of stuff stands out to the human that looks at your resume, not only the ATS system. So I want to help you be set up for success for both parts of the puzzle there. So I hope that you'll join us then. Thank you to everybody that joined me today and commented or liked the post. It means the world to me to have that engagement. And if you happen to be here watching to the end on the replay, like, you guys are the real MVP for sticking around this long. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope that we'll see you next time. Take care.